This is the Astrology and Tarot Show with Jessica Adams.
Thanks, Shane. This is your prediction for the week starting May 26. First, a true prediction about Wall Street from April 1. May 23 and 24 see Mercury everywhere, classically a time for swift deals. Well, on May 23, Donald Trump announced 50% tariffs on the EU. Your tarot this week: Aries, the Ace of Swords; Taurus, the Page of Cups; Gemini, the Eight of Pentacles; Cancer, the Nine of Wands; Leo, the Four of Cups; Virgo, the Seven of Swords; Libra, the Nine of Swords; Scorpio, the Ten of Cups; Sagittarius, the Lovers; Capricorn, the Two of Wands; Aquarius, the Five of Pentacles; and Pisces, Temperance. Aries. Well, your more radical financial, business or property choices are now out in the open where everybody can form an opinion. Such is life after the Sun and Mercury have gone through the sign of Taurus, the Bull, which also rules farming, bull markets and gold bullion. This will make it easier to make or accept a major change by July, when Uranus in Taurus ends. You still need to take all the space over a financial, business or property matter once you realise that you can give room to others as well, and in fact you should. The cycle ends on July 7 and you won't know yourself after then, Aries. You've had a roller coaster with the money, the house, the business and so on since 2018. This week is also about understanding that the week starts with the moon in Taurus, the same sign. So you are allowed to see the facts or the figures in an emotional way, putting an emotional price tag on the things that money can't buy. Maybe it's been peace of mind for you, integrity or freedom from the machine. It's not just numbers, and that really sinks in this week. The last 7 or 8 years is a long time to look back, but it will help you to plan forward. If you were making changes in 24 and you committed to those changes in 25, you should see your way to a very different way of operating in 26 and beyond. Over the last 7 or 8 years, you've gone out on your own, which has definitely worked in terms of your being independent. You have also rejected people or organisations or situations, like rejecting the bank or rejecting your ex-partner's way of handling the money. Even now, there's a big rejection note in your life around money, houses, apartments, business, and so on. It may seem hard to believe, but this constant rejecting by you and towards you stops on July 7, for whatever reason. In turn, you have also been dealing with the no word. You've been hearing it. Uranus is associated with distancing and with remoteness, so when you've had that with finance or property, it's easy to see what's been going on. Once again, as it comes to an end in July, this week is about asking yourself what the future would be like financially, without constantly having to push particular people or setups or systems away from you, but also being pushed away yourself, whether it was a council refusal or something more personal. It's worth looking at this planet, Uranus, to see it in more detail. The cycle does come back for a short time from November 9, but it's gone for good from April 2026. Taurus. This is not the moment to lose your cool in the heat of the moment, and you have a right to take your time with family, household, home, house and apartment or real estate. Since January 1, you have gone back and forth. Mars has been going backwards in Leo, which rules everything property and home related, as well as the people. In any case, this issue with a relative, somebody at home, or the house or apartment is well and truly off your agenda from June 17. What follows in July and August is really important, and this week plays its part. This is all part of the Leo weather in your chart. So this may have been a builder, or it may have been your mother, but the situation has taken you nowhere except round in circles. Now you can actually plan, because in August, the Sun, Mercury and Venus all go through Leo and the same zone, and that's when you find that things will flow rather than get stuck on a loop. So that's when it's time for the definitive family agreement, or the new bathroom, even selling a property. If the real estate is the story, you will be set free after July 7, when Uranus enters Gemini. The planet of independence goes into your property and money zone. Even if you're not that bothered about buying, selling, renting, Airbnb and the rest, you still have this week to do some forward planning about the people, if not the building, as from June 17, this situation is over. Mars is a symbol of attack and defence, so when you have it appearing to go backwards, so do the issues. And a situation which should have been a case of the battle won or the battle lost months ago seems to have been keeping you. But here you are in a week when you can start pre-planning. And if you have anything in Cancer in your birth chart, you're one of the lucky ones, Taurus, as Jupiter, with all his solutions and opportunities, moves into Cancer from June 9, and all this property and family questioning of yours ends with a really big open door. Gemini. This week is just after or before your birthday, and Jupiter has a present for you from June 9. The planet of opportunity and solutions goes into your money zone. It's been 12 years since you had this, and this will be a high potential time for your property, home improvement, lifestyle goals in general, the bank, business, shares, finance, and all aspects of it, from insurance to pension or superannuation. If you have Cancer factors in your birth chart, which many Gemini people do, you can double your luck. From June 25 to June 26, if you are in this group, you will gain from renovation, redecoration, home exchange, moving, Airbnb, the second home, and so on. Accepting what is on offer in June and July is the first step. Whatever your birth chart looks like, when we go back to your Gemini chart, you will find that the moon in Cancer on May 29 and 30 is a preview of what's possible in June and July. So somebody may start talking to you about a new way to make money or save it, or you may even be offered a place to house sit. At the big end of town, we are talking about massive opportunities in the millions or the multi-millions. This cycle is about understanding Jupiter in Cancer in the second house and what all that means when you take it apart. Jupiter is about the acorn that becomes the oak, so you need to make sure that the ground is prepared for growth. You then need to look after the acorn for the first growth, which is June and July 2025, just around the corner. So clearing the ground is part of what this week is all about, and setting targeted goals as well, no matter if you want to eliminate a debt or whether you have your eye on a new way to capitalise on what's going on. This cycle is also about keeping a weather eye on what the government is doing, or the council, or big business, because decisions made at the top will benefit you and you need to know about them. Another key date is July 7, which is the end of uncertainty with the global economy. Until then, we are on a roller coaster. It is unpredictable, but from July 7, the roller coaster stops, at least until November. So you are also affected by this, and as it all comes together in your chart with timing, now is the week to get ready for it. Cancer. What appears to be a question about cash, possessions, or property is actually a question about power and control for you. Pluto in Aquarius can be like that. And Mars in Leo, opposite your chart in the finance zone, continues to take you backwards and forwards with an issue which first arose in late 2024. It started again as 2025 began from January 1, and here you are all these months later, and this is still not resolved. Mars is action. Retrograde, it's action backwards. In Leo, it's financial or business, or tied to the house or the apartment. This stops on June 17, when at last the circuit breaks. Mars is out of Leo and out of this sector of your horoscope, and this will take the heat off. Until then, particularly this week, try to plan ahead, so it's not just about reacting or acting in the moment over the next 7 days. Your horoscope suggests this is the time for a 3-month plan, June, July, and August, because a lot of things will reach your head at the same time in the middle of the year. So rather than jump the gun this week, you may want to look at the whole calendar. Of course, this is the end of the financial year in Australia. Wherever you live, though, it can help to allow for that stuck situation to keep on pinging around until June 17 and think about July and August for the really big decision. It may take a few weeks for you to get the paperwork or the talking final, Cancer, but having a 3-month plan will help. This is also about Pluto in Aquarius, which is the personal side of things like a will, a mortgage, a trust fund, a joint bank account, and so on. These are all classic examples of what is now a question about the upper hand. Try not to let it get to that point. According to your chart, the thing to do is to aim one more time for a change in the balance of power that really is about balance. Leo, once you reorganize a friendship or a group involvement, everything else will fall into place. As Jupiter leaves Gemini, your social life, social media, friends and circles show radical change from July 8. This week is preparation time, and there are 2 dates to watch here. There is the end of an opportunity for more with friends and groups on June 9, and then 4 weeks later, there is the start of a revolution with friends and groups from July 8. Maybe those dates are in your diary already or close to it. And when I say revolution, I mean a complete break with the past. Jupiter is with you, offering solutions, improvements, and opportunities socially, with friends, or with the collective or circle until around June 8 and 9. The obvious opportunities or the chances that are being thrown your way for far superior friendships and a really important group are worth your time and energy. Try not to sell yourself short on what you're aiming for, as Jupiter is about what's big, and the results can be big too. On May 27 and 28, the moon is also in Gemini, same area of your chart. So it's emotional. It's not rational. It's about how you feel about the friend in question or the group. And with Mercury and the Sun also in Gemini, again, the same zone of your chart, a lot of what is set you free later is in the air this week. The freedom will come suddenly, and it will be, as I've said, a complete break with the past. Maybe this is a football team or a mother's group. Whatever it's shaping up to be, though, it may already be in your diary for different reasons. So your eyes are on one plan, but what your horoscope is telling you is the payoff will be liberation socially. Maybe this is a fresh start or a reboot. This week is a good time to start thinking about what you'd like to happen. Virgo, by the middle of June, your big moment could be in the bag, professionally, academically, or with unpaid work. So put wheels in motion now. Jupiter, with all his solutions and opportunities, will re-enter your solar 10th house with new patterns by June 9. This is not necessarily a new career, but it's the obvious way to make more of a career that you already have. And when I say it's big, it really is big, because Jupiter is a gas giant in astronomy, and something like this could be gigantic for you. This also applies to your unpaid work or academia, as I've mentioned. Jupiter in Gemini is about something that you could turn down, and of course you're free to turn it down. But if you were to say yes, then you are going into a period of quite radical change from July 8, when Uranus also goes into Gemini, and your zone of success. From July 8, life is not what you knew or expected. Virgo, you're after independence from that point, particularly in your career at university or with anything you do without pay. And this Independence Day is hinted at on May 27 and 28 with the moon in Gemini. Maybe you already know what you want to do, or maybe there's an X factor in July that you're not even aware of at the moment, which would change everything. July may be an important date for you, even now, for different reasons. This new cycle is about giving yourself and others carte blanche. It is, after all, a free country, or it was the last time that you checked, and with your success in life, you're also being shown what might happen were you to say a big no to something or someone that from July makes you feel confined. And in addition to that, you may be prepared to also be hearing no from others. This rejection dance is part of what this cycle is all about. It is still a few weeks away, but there'll be big clues this week. Libra, these are life-changing times for your love life or your problems with a person against you. Your zone of the duet and the duel is packed. Neptune is in Aries, your opposite zone, ruling your opposite number or your other half. And now Saturn is also in Aries from the end of May. So life is busy with this man or woman or for them. On March 31, Neptune entered Aries. On May 26, Saturn enters Aries. Your opposite sign is about the person on the other end of the scales, and it may be legal for some of you. In other cases, it's about man and woman, very simple. Or it may be more complicated in that you have big questions here about what is fair or just. And yes, it may come back to the letter of the law if you pulled it apart. Both of these planets join Chiron, already in Aries, and therefore you have a lot of typical Libran weighing and sorting to do this week. Libra is the sign that rules the scales. You have to get into the new situation with this person very slowly and carefully, because what you commit to or who you commit to is very hard to escape later on. So if you are starting a new relationship, going back to your ex or ending a relationship, for example, take your time and be a realist, because Saturn tends to bind things up. It is the ringed planet. It brings ring-fence situations. So no matter on what level this is working, you have to be practical about it rather than just dive in. Even though you get a ring-fenced situation, you also have an escape from the real world. Neptune is the alternative, the holiday from the everyday and the vacation from normal. So something about this man or woman also has you in a separate space from everybody else. And what I would say is the separate space has walls, the kind of walls that you can't get over. There's always an illusion with Neptune. It's like the horizon. It does not really exist. So there is an illusion with or about or for this other person and you. It's not quite real. Just be aware that from May 26, whatever this unreality is, has to be something that you can live with long term. Scorpio, this week is about the next generation and any relationship which may bring in a baby or a stepchild. Saturn has gone from Pisces and your fifth house from May 26. So there go the restrictions. Neptune has also gone from Pisces and your fifth house after leaving you at the end of March. So there goes the confusion. Life is far more simple for you as a parent or even in the dating game. There are no more fuzzy boundaries and there's no more test of patience from May 26. The coast is clear. All that you're left with is the North Node in Pisces. So you do have karma to complete because you are owed or you owe from 18 or 19 years before. This may be your son, your granddaughter, dating a single parent, IVF or adoption. Some Scorpio people have this cycle as teachers or their godparents because it's about the next generation. The karma will show up this week as a repetitive situation. The North Node moves backwards, and so do you on this cycle, and other people move backwards too. When does it stop? Well, you have to get through this year to really nail some of the karma. And it can work for you. Maybe you are owed, and yet the way that you are paid out is through the repetition, perhaps with a child, a grown-up child, or with a partner. What works really well on this cycle is to change on the inside, because when you cannot change him, her, them, or this, you can at least get a sense of humour about it or try to see what you gain from always knowing what's coming next. So everything's shifting in this area of your life. From May 26, this is a whole new ball game with the bedroom, courtship, your heirs, spares, and any pretenders to your throne. Sagittarius. If you're single, then you are in the right time and place with developments by the time Jupiter signs off from Gemini, your opposite sign, on June 9. There is a second chapter from July. If you are with somebody, you have Jupiter with all his big answers in your sector of marriage, separation, divorce, dating, de facto relationships, and double acts. This cycle isn't over until it's over. So you do have a few more days, and there's still decent time to seek solutions or go for something bigger and better. That's what Jupiter is all about. In your chart, Gemini, your opposite sign, rules enemies as much as it rules partners. So this may be about a love triangle or a professional rival. The partnership is often nothing to do with love and romance, but it can be about work. but you know very well who the other person is in this duet or duel, and your horoscope is asking you to be aware of what you can still pull off, particularly on May 27 and 28, with the moon in Gemini. Then we have the really big revolution from July 8. Freedom from this person or freedom through them begins then. This may be a new relationship which liberates you, or it may be the necessary end of a marriage which restricts you. And it's the same with a work partner. If you've been dating in a way that has kept you small, then that all changes after July 8, when Uranus, the planet of freedom, independence, and the shock of the new, changes signs. Capricorn. Give your love life, your children, other people's children, or your interests involving millennials your total attention this week, if you can. This week, you slowly begin winding down on what has been years and years of constant change, and your freedom and space is still under question. This cycle, Uranus in Taurus in your 5th house, stops on July 7. You then get a long break, Capricorn, from never knowing what is going to happen next. And that by itself is a big change. Since 2018, you have had an unpredictable life with courtship, the bedroom, your children, any stepchildren, godchildren, and so on. Dating a single parent, for example, adopting, IVF, or unplanned pregnancy. Well, this long cycle, which began in 2018, stops on July 7, and it's previewed this week. Jupiter semi-sextile Uranus will do that for you. How will life be when you're no longer always rejecting or feeling rejected? This has been an odd state of affairs, no matter if you're single or married, either with the same people or different faces, as 2018 to 2025 is a really long period of time to deal with instability. As an earth sign, you are grounded and you have found it particularly challenging. But this is the right week to ask yourself how things would be if everything was different. There is always distancing on this cycle, so you have been distanced from or distancing people who should be close to you, and you've seen it come the other way too. The astrologer Sue Tompkins associates this cycle with contempt, which is a very strong word, and yet you have seen this or felt it in that long 2018-2025 cycle, slowly finishing now. Understanding that this week is about seeing what might be possible from July to November in the first instance is part of you turning the corner. And the best I've saved until last, because with Jupiter in Cancer from June, the most incredible opportunity or solution is waiting for you with your partner now or a new partner for the future. And you have until June next year to enjoy that. Aquarius. The state of play with your image, your profile, your reputation or appearance has kept you waiting in 2023 and 2024, and now in 25 you are wondering how to take hold of the situation. Pluto is an Aquarius in your 1st house of packaging and presentation. Meanwhile, you soon have Saturn, Chiron, and Neptune all in your natal or birth chart 1st house too. So this works in both charts that I use for you, the public and the private. If you have anything in Aries in your birth chart, you can double this message because this will be a major relaunch for you. Whatever your birth chart looks like, your face, your name, your reputation, your title, your shape, your style, your persona is where transformation is slow and steady, like the shifting of the continental plates. And this week is another rumble in the jungle as you realize that things are still moving and changing, and you have to take control of that. Dealing with questions about your image are powerful and also energy consuming, because Pluto can be like that. Pluto in transit is unmistakable, irrevocable, and over the long term will permanently alter the way that you are presented or packaged or promoted. You have already been through one major event, whether it was weight loss or whether it was a stand that you publicly took, that has altered the way that you are boxed in by other people. Understanding that everything comes back to willpower when things are that powerful is part of the story, and you'll understand that this week. So this week, in both your birth chart and also your solar chart, you can take away that the middle of the year is going to be the relaunch of the relaunch, with June, July, and August putting a seal on the deal once you have decided who you want to be and who you want to present as you go towards the second half of 2025. Pisces, with a fuller understanding of what's possible with siblings, cousins, neighbours, short trips, the media, and the web, you should now be able to do what's right for you, and that is liberating. That's quite a long list, but the third house is a mixed bag. Yet as a child, you would have seen how everything connected: a neighbour, a brother, riding around the neighbourhood, and so on. Now, as an adult, you have this cycle back in your life in a different way. Uranus in Taurus is with you until July 7, so you have until July 7 to take part in a revolution, another one, because ever since 2018, Pisces, you have seen the world turn upside down for or through your brother, sister, or cousin, and it's the same with getting from A to B, commuting, short journeys, and the internet. The last thing that you expect is the first thing that always happens on this cycle, but it does set you free. You can break with the past, and you can also become your own person again. This is still possible one more time by July 7. And the reason that it's coming up this week is that your birth chart shows a similar story. When we go to your natal chart, we see that the third house of brothers, sisters, cousins, the media and short journeys, the internet, shows major patterns until June 9. Then the really big revolution from July 8. Do you have Gemini factors in your chart, Pisces? If so, then you can double that message about a revolution with or for siblings, cousins, neighbours, neighbouring places, or the internet. Perhaps this is directly connected, so your brother's doing your website, for example, or maybe it's quite separate. But this week is the time to understand that if you want to be free, you do have a cut-off date for this, and you are going to have to be quite radical in order to seek the independence and the space that you are entitled to. By the second half of the year, everything looks quite different. So this is the time to start figuring out what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch up with you next week.